Start your own passive online income. Your online success starts now. Welcome to the Online Success Podcast with Michael Brown and Justin Lewis.
Welcome to another edition of the Online Success Podcast, and today, actually, this is podcast number 15, and again, I'm Michael Brown, and as always, Justin Lewis is on with us. Justin, this is a really great subject that you and we talk about quite often because it's important to stay positive, and exactly what we're talking about today is staying positive in the face of problems. So don't panic. So Justin, you think this one's extremely important too, don't you?
Oh yeah, I think it's vital to success. If you want to get somewhere, you can't be negative about everything that you're doing. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are constantly negative just about their the process of what they're going through. When they're trying to get into making money online, they immediately jump to all these negatives and immediately think that everything that they're doing is a waste of time and that it's not going to get them anywhere. One of the things that you have to do is you have to stay positive and know that the things that you're doing every second of the day, every minute that you put into your online business, even if you're just starting out, all of that is going to lead up to success later down the road.
You know, Justin, you're absolutely right. And in thinking back to when I first got started, I remember, there are a lot of people that would always go around and they'll ask questions like, is anyone else making any money with this? Because, you know, they kind of want to know if they're going to make money right off. The problem is when I first got started, I actually didn't think that way at all. I stayed very positive, and I didn't give a crap if the guy next to me was making money or the guy, you know, wherever else in the world, if maybe he's not making money. I came into this with a different thought process. I'm going to make money, and we're going to get deep into why that mindset actually works. Don't worry about the people around you. Stay positive in the face of your own problems. We all have them. We all deal with them every day. And we all can get through them. If you do the right things, you can get through them, and you don't have to be a negative person. You can stay absolutely positive, even when it feels like everything is not working properly for you.
Yep, definitely.
So there was a cool quote that, and I don't remember where I first heard this, but I thought it was always really cool. And the quote is, "There are no problems, only solutions." So I looked it up the other night, and I tried to find who I could attribute this quote to, and apparently you can't. There's no one it's attributed to, but it's still a cool quote. So there are no problems, only solutions, because everything that is a problem, there's a way around it. There's a solution around it if we look for it and if we go after it.
Yeah, and if you do encounter those problems, you can definitely get around it. You can always turn those problems into something that's good because you can learn from them. It's just like when people say they learn from failure. I'm not saying to aim for failure. I'm not saying to aim for these problems. But if you do encounter those problems or do encounter that failure, make sure that you learn from it and that you progress from whatever it is that you learn.
Yeah, and Justin and I both have encountered problems, and we both found solutions to those problems, and that's why we're able to teach you the right way to do things, because we've encountered these problems already. And likewise, if you're learning and you do encounter a problem, it's not a bad thing. There's a solution to it. And through that solution, you learn and you don't make the same mistake. So Justin and I both have been there, and it's not an uncommon thing to experience. So the first thing here is, what happens when things do not go as planned? Okay, because it's going to happen. It's inevitable. You're going to have a day or several days where you might set up what you want to do and things just are not working right. Your things are not happening as planned, or at least in the order that you planned them. So what you want to do, the first thing to do when things don't go as planned, is just accept it. It's not the end of the world. There are going to be times where that happens. You have to be accepting of it. So you have to accept what's going on when the problems arise and it's not going as planned.
Yeah, and I'd also like to add on that we didn't actually write this one down, but I think this is important. You don't want to plan too far ahead,
Hmm.
because one of the big reasons that things don't go as planned is because some people plan, a year ahead in their future, which can be good. You can set goals and stuff like that. Um, but if you just plan every second of the day for the next year, uh, something might come up in one of those days that ruins everything in the future. So something that we try to do, or at least I try to do, is set a plan for the next week or the next couple of days, and really focus on that. That way, if something comes up, the rest of my schedule isn't ruined. Because no matter what, there are going to be things that are going to happen. I mean, it sucks, but there are going to be deaths in the family. There's going to be you're going to get sick. You're going to have to take time off because you're not going to feel as motivated, and that's why it's important to stay positive, and keep yourself motivated. And you definitely, I mean, that's a really great tip, just to accept it, because I mean, there's nothing else you really can do. It's going to happen.
Yeah, and if things don't go as planned, and after you've accepted it, you can just adjust accordingly. And that's why Justin was saying, if you're only planning a week or two in advance of what you want to get done, and something does come up, adjust your schedule, adjust your plans, just adjust around it, and then focus and go full steam ahead. But don't stew on the past and about the fact that your day didn't go as planned. And I've done that before. I've had times where something just ticked me off first thing in the morning. It didn't go as planned, and
Mm-hmm.
it ruined my whole day. And guess what? I just wasted 24 hours that I could have been doing something productive.
Doesn't
Something
that
that,
suck?
it does, and it's something that could have been productive that I could have made more money with. I could have
Mm-hmm.
advanced what I want to get done. But instead, I just sat there mad about what wasn't going properly. And I learned from that, and I smack myself in the face for it now, that there
Mm-hmm.
were times that I've wasted that opportunity. Um, Make sure you're writing things down. And I was reading something not too long ago about something that pretty much every successful person has done, is they've either kept a journal or they've written things down, right? So do that. You don't have to keep a journal, but if you can at least take notes on your day, things that weren't working, things that are working, and then make a task list too. Every single night before I go to bed, I try to write down what I want to accomplish the next day. And, as you do them, check them off. And something Justin and I just really recently started getting into, which has been fantastic, is putting our agendas in Google Calendar.
Yep.
And what that allows you to do, you can set up task list in there. You can sync it with other people if you have other people who you're working together with. Like Justin and I, we have to know each other's daily schedules and see what we both want to accomplish today, because we're working together to make Niche Optimizer a great university for all of our students. So
Mm-hmm.
in order to do that, we've got to know what's going on, and it helps not only keep us both together and on track, it helps keep us individually on track. So it helps drive everything forward. So make sure you're writing stuff down, checking them off, and use something like Google Calendars to plan out your day. It's absolutely free to do, and you've got it if you have a Gmail account, or a Google account. You've got that option.
Yeah, and I also want to toss out some other benefits of it. For one, it's in your face, so you have to look at it. I mean, if you have a Gmail account or any of these other things, or just a Google account, it's always going to be there when you go to Google. At the top, you'll see Calendar. Just go ahead and click on it, and you can see what you have to do. And you get this visual representation of what you need to do over the next couple of days, or just for that specific day. And you can set things up like how we did. Michael and I set it up so that we know when we're getting on the computer and when we're getting off the computer. We also set it up so that we know when we're doing these podcasts now. We know when we're doing live events. And it just makes it really, really easy for us. That way, nothing's just happening. It's not just happening. We have an actual plan, and we stay dedicated to that plan to make it so that we achieve our goals, so that our ultimate objective is reached at a much faster rate than just doing random things. Because when you don't write down a task list, when you don't organize these things, a lot of the times what will happen is you'll just start jumping around from project to project.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we've had students in the past that have done this, that have they worked really hard on a website. The website started making pretty good money, actually, and then suddenly, I don't know, I can't say why, but I've seen people do it where they just give up on that and they jump onto another project, because I don't really know why that happens, but I think one of the big reasons that it happens is because they don't stay dedicated to it with a task list that they continue to work on. And it's super, super important. So Google Calendar, it's a really, really good thing. You can connect it to your phone. You can connect it to, if you have a Hotmail calendar or an Outlook calendar, you can sync it with all types of other calendar software out there. And then one of the coolest things that I personally like is the fact that I can share my calendar with Michael, and Michael can share his calendar with me, and we can easily understand what's going on. And it helps us stay dedicated to our ultimate objective.
Yeah, it does. And one last thing, when you're working from home, it's easy to feel like you have an infinite amount of time.
Oh yeah.
And that's not really the case, because there's only 24 hours a day, and every single day, it doesn't matter who you are, that doesn't change. So we all have the same amount of time in our day, and it's just what we're going to do with it. Well, if you don't plan and you don't map things out, it's easy to, as Justin said, it's kind of chaos, because you don't know what you want to do, and you'll just jump from task to task, and you could have actually planned things out and been a lot more efficient. So, when working at home, it's like, again, it's just easy to feel like that time is infinite, but it's actually not. It's the same as everyone else. You just have to plan accordingly. So, things won't always go as planned, but you can kind of help take the pain of that away by planning weekly, and not planning out too far ahead. It's good to have long-term goals, but you also should focus on the shorter-term goals in a more detailed manner than you would the longer goals.
And a really fast example of how businesses already do this is, at least any job that I've ever had, usually the schedule is about 2 weeks in advance, and that's it. It doesn't go any much further than that. Mm-hmm. That's just jobs that I've had and that I've held. My friends have the same kind of things as well. If you have a job where it's always the same thing, then it's a little bit different. But being a waiter, it was usually a week to 2 weeks in advance, and it made it so everything was easy and that they could adjust accordingly, just like you were talking about.
Yeah, and when I ran the drugstore businesses, when I was into that, you had to schedule, and it was like 1 week at a time, because everything changed so much, and you had employees coming in who worked night and day and who had different agendas. So you always had to do it a week out, and that was it. And so there's nothing wrong with a week or 2 weeks. That's a fine schedule to keep. So it works, it just works. So do that, and you'll help keep yourself on track a lot more. Now, one I want to go over is technical issues, because this one can be a real problem for people. And I myself am not an extremely technical person. I can use technology pretty well, but I have to learn how to do it. And it never fails. Like, right, you're like that person that everyone else is saying, "Oh, everything's so smooth, it's going fine." But you're the person that has the broken package. You have the one that's broken, right? So it always happens, right? You order something from Amazon that's supposed to work correctly, but you have the one with a defect in it. Likewise, when you're building an online business, everything doesn't always go, again, according to plan. And because of that, sometimes there are technical issues that you might experience that someone else doesn't. So if you're not a technical person, sometimes this can completely derail your plans. This can kill your day or week, or maybe you quit altogether from that. And that's not something that we ever recommend, because, again, we think, and we do it too, we get through everything, and you can do that. But when technical problems arise, what you have to do, the first thing you need to do is be calm, because chances are someone else has already had this problem before, or it's happened to somebody else. So you can simply ask for help. So ask someone you know. Ask someone that you already know has the problem. In a fine example of this is if you're a member of Niche Optimizer, you can use the forum and find the same problem that someone else might have had, and you can just walk yourself through it. Sorry, Justin, did you have?
Oh, I was actually just agreeing. But I do want to toss out that Michael, you and I we're pretty different in the technical aspect.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very technical. I like editing things. I like coding. I like learning about all these different types of things, and it's what I've done ever since I was a little kid. At least messing around with things and whatnot. And Michael, when I met you, you didn't really you had been successful,
Mm-hmm.
but you didn't really understand all this technical stuff, and I thought that was really weird. Because I thought you had to know this stuff. Now,
Mm-hmm.
personally, me, I just find interest in it. But I definitely know that you don't have to be technical at all in order to be successful, because what I've seen with you, and also what I've seen with other people, because there are a lot of people out there that don't have these amazing looking websites. They throw up the base template and they start adding content to it, and that's it. And I've seen them be successful. So I know that it's possible to not have all these this technical know-how. But yeah, definitely, if you need help with that type of thing, the biggest thing is you can find other people that already have an answer to it, have already been introduced to the problem. So like Michael, you've come to me plenty of times where you've
Mm-hmm.
had problems with just very basic things, at least in my mind. But again, that's just me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's something that you had never encountered, and you came to me, and I fixed it within like a minute, and you had been working on it all day.
Yeah, and I was
Things like that are going to happen, though, and the same thing has happened with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was blown
So,
away.
I was just stating that the same thing has happened with me. Oh,
No.
I think we're overlapping by a second.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, does it sound okay now?
I think so. I think there's a little bit of a lag or something like that. But the big thing is that the same thing has happened with me, where I've come to you with very, very basic things, and you gave me an answer almost immediately, and you understood everything about what I was asking, and I had no clue.
Right. Well, and just a quick example there, email marketing, that's something I thrive at.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you had a couple questions on that, to me, I'm like, that's a really basic question, but that's something, that's something I hammer every day. And likewise,
Yeah.
on the technical stuff. So, you guys, if you don't be afraid if there's something that you don't understand that's technical. The beauty of being a member in Niche Optimizer is that you've got Justin, who's an extremely technical person. You've got me, who is deep into marketing aspects of everything. So you've got the best of both worlds with that. So if you get stuck, okay, just ask for help. But if you're doing anything else and you're not a member of Niche Optimizer, you might need to ask someone else somewhere help, or search for a solution on your own. But again, if you're a member of Niche Optimizer, you simply ask us for help, and we're there to help you. You're not going to get stuck. So don't panic if there's like a slight technical issue, or what to you might feel like a terrible technical issue might only be a minute fix, like Justin's talking about. And there are things where I literally was like, oh, I'll never be able to fix this. And I'm like, smack myself in the face, like, don't say that. It's fixable, and I'll wait and I'll ask a question. So Justin comes on, I ask him, hey, how do you fix this, and how much is this going to cost? Am I going to have to hire a programmer? And he's just laughing because it takes a minute. It's like a little tweak. So, don't panic. Don't slam the panic button. Don't freak out. There's help around the corner every step of the way. And don't panic over those technical issues, ever.
Yeah, definitely.
So this one, Justin, you want to talk about this a little bit? Because this one's a topic that's got to be on the minds of a lot of people out there, because everyone has this. Even Justin and I deal with this. So Justin, go ahead and talk about this subject a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So a big thing that can get you down and make you feel kind of like things aren't going your way is when you're making money and things look good, and then suddenly you have a week of bad sales. where you may have been making, and this is just as an example, not everyone's making this much money, but in the past, I've had this experience where I was making roughly about $1,000 a week on the internet, and then suddenly, one week I would make $200. And that's still cool. That's still great and everything. It's amazing to make that money online. But to go from 1,000 to 200 made me feel pretty down. And I had to think about, well, how can I reach back where to I was? Sorry, I'm slurring a lot in this one today, I think.
You sound like me from our last podcast when I was tired, right?
But one of the things that I had to think about was how was I going to reach that same level of income that I had last week? And a lot of the times you really just need to just push through it because you're going to have bad weeks, you're going to have great weeks, you're going to have outrageously amazing weeks, and then you're going to have just mediocre weeks that are going to do really, you're just going to be happy with it. So you have to understand that that's what's going to happen. And in order to push through it, you need to focus on working on creating content or editing the content that you already have on your website to make it better. You need to work on adding more links to your website, building traffic to your website. So anything that you can do to get more people to your website is going to help you.
Yeah, in Justin, along with getting links, and we've talked a lot about this extensively in the past, but a lot of the times that can just be outreach too, or get guest posting spots or guest blogging spots, and go out and build links that way. Because not only are you building links, you're connecting to another audience.
Absolutely, and while you're aiming to do all these other things, you also need to be focusing on your social communication. So you need to be on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, all these different social networks. You need to start messing around with them, even during your slow times. Even though you're not making as much money as you did last week, you need to still focus on these things. And a lot of the times, and I'll just tell you what I've had happen in the past, is when I've had a slow day, usually one of my other projects, and this is just an example of me, one of my other projects is actually doing a lot better than it usually does. And I think that's really just trending. It's all about trends. One day this niche is doing well, and one day that niche is doing well. And sometimes you want to kind of back yourself up. You want to have multiple income streams. And what you could do, I'll just give you a quick example. I'm in the air conditioner niche. Like air conditioners, evaporative coolers, all types of different things, humidifiers. And those are only really sell during the summertime in the United States. Really just between, I get most of my sales between April and August. That's roughly so between the two A's. But after that, I don't get many sales. I don't get many sales of air conditioners whatsoever. But what I do get is I get sales of video games and all these other things, motorcycle equipment and other things that people are getting during the slow season for air conditioners. So it's a great thing to focus on multiple income streams as long as you can handle at least one. You got to make sure you can handle one first before you just suddenly go out and have all these websites.
Yeah.
You can build lots of websites because you can gain knowledge from it and experience, which is a great thing. But it's very hard to focus on all of these websites very heavily. And if you want to build one successful website, you need to put a lot of attention into it. And also try and do things like creating something that you can give away, so that you can just give away completely free to your audience. And you can do this to help build a list, and you can also give it out on social networks like Facebook and Twitter and Google+. But the biggest thing of anything added up is really just don't run away. Don't suddenly say, oh my God, I made this much money last week, and this week I only made this much, so I need to quit now. Don't do that, because a lot of the times what's going to end up happening is there's a really, really bright light at the end of that tunnel. The next day you could be so much more happier than you were last week if you would have just kept going on with it. If you just give up, you're never going to know what's going to be in your future online.
Yeah, and the reason we're talking about this stuff is because, Justin and I still have times where, our sales days aren't exactly what we want them to be, and they'll go down, and of course we'll go back up and stay up and then back down a little bit. And that's all part of growing your own online business. So don't panic and don't think you're the only one experiencing this. It happens. Just focus on creating your content and getting your additional income streams, or just like Justin said, link building, social communication. Give something away. If you're in Niche Optimizer, use the email course and learn how to build an email list, because if you do that, on whatever niche you're in, you can still send out coupons to people. You can still send out good affiliate deals and make more sales from that. So don't go ahead. Go ahead, Justin. You're fine.
I was just going to say that you just mentioned the fact that other people are experiencing slow days as well. I mean, really, every industry, it doesn't matter what it is, they're going to have slow days. Even large corporations like Apple and Google and whatnot are going to have really high points and then really low points, and then they're going to have very good points. So no one's ever just going to always go straight up. That's not how it works. You're gonna go up, you're gonna go down, you're gonna go up, you're gonna go down, and you have to stay positive during all of that.
So on this though, what do you do when you have some kind of project you're working on that again doesn't really go as planned? It kind of fails, it falls apart. What do you do in that situation? And Justin, I'm going to let you go ahead and kick this one off again. So, because you can kind of give people a good insight as well as I can. But
okay,
it's a neat thing, because failed projects are not something that you should just kick yourself over and give up, right? There's something that you can really learn from and grow your success. So, go ahead and talk about gaining success through that and about what you and I have experienced in this situation.
All right. Well, first off, the biggest thing you need to know with this is that not every project is going to succeed. Failure is just something that you have to be ready for, because it's going to happen. You're going to encounter failure. Doesn't matter who you are. I mean, there are so many people, so many CEOs of large companies, and I'll list these in the resource notes for this podcast episode. But there are so many successful people out there that have reached such high points, but they've also had extremely low points. And one of the biggest reasons that they're successful is that they're able to pick themselves up and just realize that it's going to happen, that there's nothing that they can do about it. You're going to fail at some things. Just make sure that you're not aiming for that failure. But Michael and I, we fail all the time. I mean, we probably fail more than we succeed. I would say we definitely fail more than we succeed, and that's how it happens. It's not something that you can really control, because you can't always be successful. It's just not going to happen where you're always. For example, if you're trying to make money online, and let's say today you send out an email, and I'll use Michael as an example. Let's say today you send an email out to your list. Today, the email goes out, and let's just say, as an example, you make $1,000. All right.
Mm-hmm.
You send another email out next week. That email only ends up making $100.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say the $100 is a failure, but I'm just saying that you can't control everything that's going on. You're gonna succeed, and you're gonna fail, and it's going to happen. And one of the important things that you need to do is you need to take notes when these things happen. So, for example, when Michael sends out that email, or when you're building your website, you need to think about these things as well. Take notes on why you failed. So when Michael sends out that email, he needs to think about what's going on in the industry. Why did he make $1,000 this week and only $100 next week? With the same type of email and everything. And it's possible that it could be because of the day that he sent out the email, the time that he sent out the email, the fact that the next email people have already seen the last email, so they're not, really worried about it as much anymore. So things like that are just going to happen, and you need to take these notes so that you understand why they happen, so you don't encounter them again. And you really need to try and avoid those issues, because whether you like it or not, they're going to happen again in many cases, but you can also help yourself avoid them by thinking smart and not just immediately just jumping out in the middle of the street and just saying, "Oh, a car is not going to hit me." Because that was a terrible explanation or terrible thought.
You failed on your thought process there. I think
I did.
We're gonna chalk that one up.
See, things like that are going to happen. But you can't really control it. And Michael, I would like you to just take over with the setting goals and everything.
Yeah. Before I really get into setting goals and talking about that a little more, the one thing I do want to mention with your website, okay, you're going to get times where you might have a website that makes you, let's say, $1,000 a month. Okay, that's a pretty good aim for a website. If you can make a website, do that. That's great. So you might get into a niche where you're doing that, but you might think, hey, you know what? I'm going to start another niche on a different topic, and man, that one's going to make me $1,000 a month too. Or maybe someone out there told you that every website you build will make you that kind of money. Because there are people that say that, hey, 14 clicks, baby, and you're going to be making $15,000 a month from your website. Okay, it doesn't work like that. And what happens a lot of times is we expect every success to mean that every other thing we do is a success.
Yep.
And what you'll find out is that maybe you work hard on this next website and it only makes you $250 a month, okay? So it's 1/4 of what your other website's doing. Well, you know what? That's still okay, because number one, that's a learning process for you there as well, because you're learning that not everything you do is going to make you the exact same amount of money or more. Some things are going to make you less. Some things, for what seems like no real apparent reason, won't make you the same amount of money. And just going into Justin's email example that he was giving you there, I've actually had times where I've made almost $15,000 from one email. And you can't look at that and go, hey, every single email I send out is going to make me $15,000. Because I'll tell you what, all I would do every day is I would send out like 10 emails, and then that would be the focus. But what you'll find is, and Justin was exactly right, you might have an email that does something like that, but then your next email might only make you $50. It might only make you $200. It might even make less, or something you think, hey, all the people who are on my email list, they're going to go crazy over this product that I'm promoting because it's a great product, it's working great for me, and you'll find that nobody wants it. You'll get like 2 or 3 sales. And you might have had 150 sales on a product before that, but for whatever reason, no one really, they either don't understand the product you're promoting, or it really doesn't seem helpful to them. And that's okay. You're going to have that.
And Michael, I'll give one more example of one of the things that I've actually encountered with failure, and that's on Facebook. And for anyone listening to the podcast, if you haven't already been to one of my large Facebook pages, you can go to Facebook and type in Halo 4 fans, and you can go to my Facebook page with about 182,000 people on it right now, and that's a success. That's really, really awesome and everything. But I've also built other Facebook pages where I've done the same strategy, and instead of 182,000 people, maybe I'll get 3,000. And that's a huge difference. That's a massive difference. It's still awesome. I mean, 3,000 people is really cool. But to me, that was a failure. And a lot of what I realized is that the reason that it was a failure was not so much not so much the industry that I was going into. It was more just me. I was really passionate about one thing, and then I wasn't as passionate about the other thing. And the thing that I wasn't as passionate about, I didn't succeed as well with. So that's one of the experiences that I've had in the past is when I'm not passionate about something, I don't really push as heavily for it. But then I've also had other Facebook pages. I just have to point this out. I've also had other Facebook pages which I'm still not as passionate about, but suddenly they've got 20,000 people on them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so things like that are going to happen still. I mean, it's really some projects are going to fail, some projects are going to succeed. But no matter what, you need to keep going at it, and you need to focus on that success and nothing else at all. Just aim for success. If it fails, that's going to suck, but you're going to learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely. If like Justin said, if it fails, you know what? That's okay. Learn from it, move on, or find another way to make that project a success. Find a way to work around that. And like Justin, I don't personally have any Facebook pages that have 180,000 people on it. That's really awesome.
But then I don't have any email lists that have, you know, above 2,000 people on it. So
yeah, so it's, you know, there are certain things like that you're going to find where you're really good at it and you just stick with it. And there's things you're going to find that you're not that great at. And you just got to go with it. So if you're doing the things, though, you're building your website, you're building your email list, you're working on your Facebook page, you're working on your Twitter, you know, Google Plus, you're really getting these things built up, you know, you're probably going to start seeing success build up more and more, and suddenly certain failures won't feel that bad. You won't feel terrible if something fails. You'll just pick up and you'll move on from whatever failed, and you'll keep focusing on the successful things. And as you keep growing, you become more and more successful. You learn from your mistakes. You keep growing every step of the way.
Yep.
I want to talk about goals, okay? Because this is something that I'm very deep into. I love goals. And, you know, like everyone, I sometimes forget to set them properly. But one thing I've learned throughout, you know, all the years I've been creating goals, because when I was back in I'll just tell you real quick, when I was back in the drugstore biz, we had to set goals and we had to turn them into our boss all the time. And I'll tell you what, if we did not follow the SMART system, the goals would get rejected. We'd be basically told we were completely stupid and needed to rethink our goals, right? So I learned the hard way how to set a SMART goal, because SMART goals actually make the most sense. And what I always think, yeah.
For anyone watching the YouTube video, do you also have another slide on SMART goals? I believe that's the next slide, right?
I am on the SMART goal slide.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, on my screen you're not. So I guess I'm having a technical issue on my end.
Do you see it now?
Personally. I do not. But I would say just stay on it.
Okay.
And just keep going, because I can't see it, and I'm going to load up another window so I can see the slides.
No problem. One thing to think about, like, let's say you did set some goals for yourself, and maybe you haven't even put them into the SMART system yet, which I'm going to tell you about in a second, but maybe you missed your goals, okay? Maybe you said, hey, this year I want to make $50,000, or this year I want to make $100,000, okay? Those are your big goals. Maybe you missed them, maybe you aimed a little too high right out of the gate, or maybe they just weren't SMART goals, so you couldn't work towards them. And a SMART goal is a goal that is specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's relevant, and it's trackable. And I know there are some different variations of what the SMART goal means, but I'm going to go into what it means to me and how I specifically use this. So first off, a goal should be specific. Okay, you should say exactly what you're going to do. Just saying, hey, my goal is to make $100,000. That's not specific, okay? You need to say exactly how you want to make that $100,000. So I want to make $100,000 this year by building small niche sites step by step, and I want to make each site that I make $1,000 a month. Okay, that's a little more specific than just saying, hey, I want to make $100,000. The next thing, it needs to be measurable, okay? So you can't make a goal that doesn't have an end result. So you can't say, hey, I just want to make a bunch of money. You can't measure that unless you can somehow measure what a bunch of money is. But you can measure if you hit your goal. Let's say I want my website to have at least 1,000 visitors a day by June 21st, okay, or whatever date you set. That can be measured because on June 21st you can look, hey, am I hitting 1,000 people a day, 1,000 visitors? If yes or no, okay, then you know it's a goal that is measured. It has to be attainable. Okay, it has to be attainable. And if you're first coming into affiliate marketing and you say, I want to make $1 million by building niche sites, and I want to do that in 3 weeks. Okay, you got to rethink here, because that's probably not attainable. But if you say, I want to build, you set a short-term goal that you want to set up a specific and measurable and attainable goal for. You could say, I want to create a niche site that I want to earn my first dollar with by the end of the month. Okay,
Yep.
That's probably pretty attainable. And,
That's definitely attainable.
Yeah, very attainable. And some people, they come in, they make their first dollar in their first week, or they make their first 100 in the first month. But for some people, it doesn't happen that quick. So just set a nice little attainable goal that you can hit first, because you'll feel good about it, and then you can keep going on, and you'll know what the expectations are. Make sure the goals are relevant. Okay, make sure they're relevant. Setting irrelevant goals don't make a whole lot of sense. So if it has nothing to do with the topic you're dealing with, it's not going to be relevant to you, and it's going to be hard to hit. So make sure if you're going into it and you say, hey, I want 1,000 visitors a day, but I want to make $40 million at the end of the year off of that 1,000 visitors. Okay, that's probably not relevant to what you're trying to do either. So set relevant goals, set goals that are attainable with that, and keep them measurable and specific. And finally, make sure they're trackable, so you can track them every day of the week. And a great example of this would be a traffic one, because you can actually track that every single step of the way through either Google Analytics or Stat Counter or whatever, or through your AW stats inside your dash or inside your cPanel. Okay, you can say, hey, I want to hit 1,000 visitors a day by June 31st or June 30th, and you can set that up, and then you can go in and you can look, did you hit that, and are you growing towards it? Because one thing you can do if it's trackable is you can actually measure, hey, am I going up, at least getting close to my goal if I missed it? Because you can go back and say, hey, I only had 800 a day here. I only had 700 a day here. This day I had 1,200, so I went over it that day. That was good. What did I do to get there? And by making
and you can also average.
Yeah, exactly. So by making it a trackable goal that you can see, you can at least see how close you came to hitting it. Okay, and that's what I think the SMART goals are. That's the SMART goal system to me. And for me, it's a critical system. So every time I set up a goal, it always has to have a result. It has to have a way that I'm going to make that goal happen. So I'll never say that, hey, I want to have 3,000 members as part of my course by this date. I'll make sure the goal is specific. I'll say that I want that many members by X amount of date, but I want to achieve it by doing this and this and this.
Yeah.
And that way I can track it. I can make sure it's relevant. It's an attainable goal. I can measure it every single step of the way. I can measure it at the very end. And it's specific. It's a very specific goal. I know what I want to accomplish, and I know how I'm going to go accomplish it. And if you're setting goals in any other way, and you're just stating something like, hey, I want to make $1 million, well, it's going to be hard to make $1 million if you don't know what you're doing, and like if you don't know how you want to achieve that $1 million. Or let's say, your goal is to build a car. Well, if you don't list out the steps that you want to accomplish building that car, well, how are you going to build a car? It's not specific, okay? You need to stay specific. Go ahead.
And Michael, I've actually never heard of the SMART goal system. I had never heard of this prior to setting up the slideshow. Once you put it together, I actually looked into it, and it makes perfect sense. It's something that I personally didn't do when I started, and I wish I had, because really when I came into this, I was like, all right, I'm going to aim for $100 a day, which is $3,000 a month. And reaching towards $100 a day when you only hit, this is definitely related to being attainable. When you don't hit $100 a day in your first month, it's going to feel, you might feel a little down, and you might feel you might think negatively about what's going on. But when it's attainable, when it's specific in all these different things, you'll be a bit quite more positive just because you can actually reach those goals and you actually know what you're doing. You're not just going in blind and trying to achieve everything that you possibly can. You're going in with a serious plan and a serious goal system that I think really works, and I really like this. So.
Yeah, and I'll just point out a couple quick things real quick. In 2011, I destroyed my goals. Like, I was so far ahead of where I wanted to be by the end of the year. But in 2012, I completely, utterly missed my goals. And there were a lot of factors involved in that. But I can look back and see why my goals failed. I'm able to go check why they failed because of the system, because of the way I look at everything. And I can go, okay, wow, okay, that's why that failed. So here we are, going into another year. And you can use this year after year after year. So, you're not always going to hit your goals. Don't hit your goals. Don't panic. It's okay. Because setting goals are going to help you get closer to where you want to be anyway. So the last thing we want to cover here is you need to be declarative in everything you do. Okay, you need to declare what you want to achieve and how you're going to go about your everyday objectives in your everyday life. So you need to, again, stay positive with what you're doing and tell yourself some good things every day, to help reinforce what you want to do. And one of the big ones, one of the first ones that you need to tell yourself is that you're going to succeed. So I will succeed. I will succeed at what I'm trying to do. Because, and I always go back, I know I've probably told this story several times, but it's one that means a lot to me, because when I first was getting into affiliate marketing and building websites and trying to do all this stuff, even before I really made more than $1, I would go to my day job at the time, which was a drugstore manager, and I would always be positive. I'd say, I will succeed with this. I'm going to succeed. Not only did I hate what I was doing already, I hated my job, but I also knew that I could succeed with it if I just put my mind to it and work towards it. So I would always say every morning that I'm going to make this happen. I'm going to succeed. And I'd say things like, I will do the best that I can do. Okay, so I'm not doing the best that Justin can do or the best that someone else can do, but I'm doing the best to my ability. And as long as you're putting in that time and you're putting in that focus, you're going to do the best that you can do. So don't just say it. Actually put that into work too. Put it into effort every day. Really do the best that you can do. But if you take, you come in, you work on this stuff a half an hour a day, but you
watch TV.
Yeah, and you do something else, but you had 2 hours that you could be doing this stuff with, and you're just wasting your time. You got to think, at the end of the day, do I really want this that bad? Do I really want to go on and make money online? Because if you're not focusing on it, and I'm not saying all your free time, but if you're not focusing your time and effort into it, just saying I will succeed and I will do the best that I can won't do it. It won't cut it, because you're not really doing it. So everything I'm telling you on this list here, make sure you're focused on achieving it as well, and not just telling yourself this, but this is a huge step with everything. So you can also say, I will get through this, because, hey, you're learning something brand new. Maybe you've been doing it for a few months, but maybe you haven't reinforced the fact that you're going to succeed and you can do this and you're going to get through it. Always tell yourself that you're going to rise above the bad stuff, okay? As Justin and I just mentioned, there's going to be problems. There's going to be pitfalls along the way. There's going to be things that come up that you don't expect. There's going to be failures. Get above the bad stuff and rise above it, and don't let that stuff bring you down, because I'll tell you, we're all better than that. We are. We're able to adapt and get through everything, and if you don't tell yourself that I will rise above the bad stuff, and you let every little bad thing bring you down, you're probably going to give up. You're probably going to fail, because you don't have the right mindset to keep going. On top of that, you have to say, I will win. I will win. And think of sports figures. Think of anyone in a competitive sport. Do you think for a minute any of those guys or ladies go out on the field and go, I'm going to totally lose today? Or, no matter what sport it is, it could be volleyball, it could be basketball, it could be football, whatever it is, they're like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to win. And you have to have that mindset in doing this as well. You have to declare that you're going to go win, that you're going to get the prize at the end, and you're going to stay with it. Now, on top of that, I will not give up. Never give up. Never give in to what you want to do. If you want to achieve something and you actually have the will and the desire, and you tell yourself, I will not give up, and you stick to that and you actually don't give up, you're going to see a lot more success than other people who just simply give up. Because I'll tell you what, giving up is the easiest thing you can do on anything you want to do. It's easy to go, hey, I'm not doing that anymore. Screw that. I have better things to do. But then if you really want something, you don't give up. You go after it and you achieve it.
Yep.
And then tell yourself every day that you're awesome, because we all are. We all have our own really awesome things. We have things that we're good at. We have things that we're gifted with. We have gifts that we, sometimes maybe we don't use them enough. Maybe we don't think they're gifts. Maybe we, just don't think that we're that awesome. But I'll tell you what, everybody has something awesome that they can do, whether you believe it right now, or whether you don't believe it, or whether you've even looked into it for yourself. There's something you can do better than somebody else, and you just have to do it. You have to do it. So tell yourself that every day. And I don't mean to give you an ego. Don't walk around cocky like I'm totally awesome. Everyone else is getting trampled on because I'm sweet. But tell yourself, you do have awesome qualities. You have things that you can get, things in your life that will set you apart from other people. And I can tell you what, right now, just being in Niche Optimizer and working with people, we have people doing some really freaking cool things that when I see them doing it, I'm like, man, that is awesome, because it's something that maybe I can't do. Like if someone comes in and they have really nice artwork on their site, I'm like, wow, did you do the artwork yourself on there? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, that is a totally awesome skill, because I'm not an artist. So to me, that stuff is really awesome. So everybody has something awesome and more awesome than somebody else. So tell yourself that every day.
I want to toss out a few others that I think are pretty awesome with our students. And that would be the fact that there are some people out there that can write a lot. I personally can't write that much and everything, and I think that's amazing that they can write so much content. I think it's cool as can be. There are some people that can update their website twice a day. There are some people that update their website only once a month, and yet they're still successful. And there's just so many gifts that every single person has that it's just, you have to find them. You're not always going to immediately know, okay, this is what I'm talented at. You have to train yourself at a lot of things and find what you're talented at. Because there's some people that have come into this and they sell their websites for a lot of money. And I've never personally sold any of my websites for that much money. I've sold them for, roughly in the 1,000 range and everything. But I've seen some people sell websites for up there in the 10,000s. That's outrageous to me. I think that's amazing that people can do that. There are some people that come into this, and even though we're telling them to build a niche website and all these different things, they end up, throwing in their own little zest and creating their own little thing that's kind of different than what we expressed originally, but they put their own ideas into it. And really, nobody's going to go down the same path. We're all going to have different paths no matter what we do. And that's a great thing. That's what makes the world turn. That's what makes it so that everybody can get in every industry. Is because you're going to go down a different path than somebody else. Even if you go into the same exact niche, you're going to go at it a different way.
Yeah, and Justin, in with that too is being part of a community. A lot of times, you'll get feedback from people about things that you were like, wow, I didn't really think that was a cool quality I had, but because they're telling me that, you start realizing it. And just to give you a quick example, like I don't think I have a very good speaking voice.
Your speaking voice is amazing.
But see, just like that, like you go, dude, you got a great speaking voice, and other people have said that, and I'm like, wow, really? Because that's not something I ever thought that I had a talent on. But because other people are like, dude, that is really awesome, man. Like the way you get things, the way you get to the point, the way you communicate, It makes everything so easy to understand. And before I actually started doing that stuff, I didn't know that. You know, and I don't have to totally think that that my speaking voice is that awesome. But if it is, and people really love it, guess what I'm going to keep doing? Yep. I'm going to keep using that talent, and I'm going to get it out there. And you know, just like Justin, he has a ton of qualities that maybe he didn't really know that he had. But when we started working together and seeing stuff, I see all the crazy things. Like he has an eye for detail, for making things look. I always call it making things look pretty, because he can set up a nice looking slideshow or a great looking website like Niche Optimizer. The look of the course is amazing, and that's because he has an eye for detail. And I don't have that. Like I can't look at something and be like, oh, this is where I want this to be. This is where I want this to be. But he sees that and makes it look great. And everyone has these kind of qualities, and certain qualities you might not have that are like amazing at first, but you might have the potential there. And as you learn to use them, you get good with them, you get better, and you get really awesome with it. And that will help you succeed in everything you're going to do.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other really, I just think it's pretty amazing. Like when other people tell you that you have a quality and you didn't know you had it, I think that's awesome. I mean, that's crazy to know that other people see you differently. So just because you might be looking at yourself pretty negatively right now, but other people might think that you're a really awesome person. You know, so don't immediately jump to the conclusion that everyone's thinking the same way that you're thinking about yourself, and just focus on succeeding, because that's the biggest thing you need to do to keep yourself positive. You know, just focus on success. That's it.
And on that note, we are going to go into our resources. And really, guys, we hope you got a lot out of this one today. It went way longer than we expected, but there's a lot of good stuff in here. And, you know, Justin and I, when we get on here and we start talking about it, it's stuff we really speak from the heart, because this stuff is not only are we passionate about, but when you start feeling that little bit of despair, guess what? We've been there. We know what it's like. Other people have been there. There's probably a ton of members in our community who have been there, and a lot of people who have overcome those situations. So you're not alone, and you're part of something that's really, really special. And we really not only thank you for listening, but we are passionate about just sharing this with you. So our resources today, as always, we like to give you these. So if you're listening through our through the audio, through what service are we using, dude?
iTunes.
iTunes. I always forget, because I usually just pull it up through the player on the site. But if you're listening,
all our iTunes listeners are so mad.
I know, like iTunes themselves are probably like scoffing at us right now in anger. But if you're listening on iTunes right now, just make sure you can come to the actual show notes. So Justin always does a great job of laying out the show notes for you, and that's at nicheoptimizer.com/OSP15. So OSP, the number 15. And you'll be able to see all the show notes, any resources that we had, like if we give you any links during the podcast or anything that we reference, we always put those below it. If you want...
And I'll toss one of my successful Facebook pages, and then I'll also include one of my Facebook pages that has failed, just as an example.
Oh, great. Yeah, that's good stuff. Always to see that. And if you want to look at any of our other podcasts, because we've done, well, this is number 15, so we've had 14 other ones, you can go to nicheoptimizer.com/podcast, and you'll see an entire listing of our podcasts that you can go through. And you can listen to these in your car, on any device now anymore. So anywhere you want to listen to us at, you can listen. Sorry, I was about to cough there. Also, if you're, yeah, I stopped. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna cough. But if
I was like, am I supposed to talk now?
I just leave it open, like, hey, Justin, what are you doing? Are you supposed to be talking to people, man? Now, if you want to, if you're not a member of Niche Optimizer yet, and you want to join our training, go to nicheoptimizer.com. You can get in. We actually have it to where you can get the first. I forget how many videos are in here, but the first like 4 lessons, and there's a lot of videos there. You get that absolutely free just to see what we're all about. But I guarantee once you see how awesome the first 4 lessons are, you're going to want to stay with us and you're going to want to become a premium member with us. But you can start out free and check it all out and just see if it's right for you.
Yep, and once you do join, you'll have a community that'll help you stay positive, and we'll do everything we can to help motivate you. That's one of our biggest things, is hopping on the forum every single day and responding to people's questions, just giving them a push in the right direction, or just telling them that they're doing a good job, because it is important that you know that you're doing a good job.
And you might have a question. You might say, is my website set up correctly? Am I doing things right? And by being able to ask and like have us look at that, that's almost priceless, because most places won't even give you the time of day to look at that stuff. We'll sit down, us and our other members will sit there and we'll look at your websites. We'll see how they look. I'll give you pointers, and maybe you're having a hard time staying with everything, and you just want to know if you're going in the right direction. We're there to do that every single step of the way. So, Justin, what's the message of this entire presentation for everyone?
I would say, and I believe everybody here hopefully already knows, is to stay positive. Just stay on top of your game at all times. I mean, if you feel down, come to us. We'll help you stay positive if we have to. But you also have to do it for yourself. You have to stay positive for yourself. You have to know that you're going to succeed, know that you're going to make an income online, know that whatever you're doing right now is going to help you achieve something in the future.
Yeah, beautiful. Absolutely. So everyone, again, I'm Michael Brown. And
this is Justin
the guy
Lewis.
with me, Justin Lewis. And if you guys really liked what's in this, and you like the stuff we're sharing, and it really is helping you out, do us a favor and share this with somebody else who you think might be feeling down, or maybe you think that just needs something, an uplifting place online like this to be a part of. A place where people who are having success want to help and share with other people to help achieve that success. And it's not just Justin and I, it's our members, all of us together. It's one big community. It really is like a family. So if you think anyone out there might benefit from this, maybe you know someone else that wants to just make money online, they can be part of a community that can do that and can help them do that. So make sure you share this with somebody else. We would appreciate it, because it helps us get out there more, and it helps us share this message with more people. And it would just be a big thing for us, and we know you're going to help someone else in the same breath. You're going to help someone else who might need this. So again, guys, thank you very much for staying on the podcast with us. And again, I'm Michael Brown with Justin Lewis, and we will see you in our next episode.
Catch you guys later.